There's this joke on the internet that there's never been a single good movie based off a video game, but now the Angry Birds movie has come upon us, and yeah, that's still true. There's still not been a good movie based on a video game. So, as you guys probably know, the Angry Birds movie is based off the video game Angry Birds that we all played in our phones like 5 years ago, and if you're like me, you went into this movie being like, can they actually make a movie about these birds? Can they actually tell a story? Can they actually develop characters? And well, it's kind of half and half. Being the optimist that I am, I will go through the things that I liked about this movie first. First of all, story's pretty good. It's very simple, 3-act structure, and it follows exactly, what you would expect an Angry Birds movie to follow. It's about Red, the red angry bird. He's the main character in the game, and he's the main character in this movie. And ultimately, there's these green pigs coming in, and Red's like, I think something suspicious is going on with these pigs. And the pig's like, no, nothing suspicious is going on. Let's throw a party. Let's show you that we're safe. But Red's like, no, something's definitely going on. He assembles a trio, and they're trying to prove what's going on with these pigs is bad. And yeah, we have our movie. Also, the character chemistry in this movie is pretty good. You've got Red, he's the main character. You've got Chuck, the yellow bird, I think his name is. He's the one that's moving around really fast. And you've got Bomb, the black bird that blows up. The three of them worked really well together. I mean, Chuck was a little bit annoying in some places. I'll talk about Red a little bit later. But overall, those three worked together as a trio pretty well. And lastly, the animation in this movie was pretty good. It was very eye-popping. It was very bright. It was very three-dimensional and graphic going throughout the movie. It definitely keeps your eyes on the screen as you're watching it. That being said, let's move on to what brought the movie down a bit for me. First of all, the main thing that makes this movie not something I can recommend to you guys is the humor, because I grew up watching Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. I watched, Fairly Odd Parents, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Codename Kids Next Door. The list goes on and on every single weekend when I was growing up. And this movie feels like it was an episode of, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends or something from Cartoon Network, only it's an hour and a half long and it's projected on screen in front of everybody. Only, instead of being kid humor, this movie's appealing to kids with really, really awkward adult humor shoehorned into it. For example, something blows up and Red's like, that blows. And you're like, that's awkward. And then it does these pop culture references where it's like there's these kids from The Shining at one point, and you're like, who is this movie appealing to? Because at its core, this is a kids movie. Kids should see this movie. Adults would be kind of irritated by, the annoying bird characters in it. But then when they throw in, the random pop culture jokes, the random dirty humor, you're like, is this movie for kids? Because it's going a little bit far at this point. All the shifting humor perspectives just made the movie feel really out of focus, in my opinion, and it just took away from the experience. It took me out of it for a little bit. I'm like, what's going on right now? In addition to that, this movie is exactly what you think it would be. Like I said, I thought the story was fine. I thought the characters were fine. I actually liked those. But this movie isn't ultimately that interesting. This movie goes exactly beat for beat how you think it would go. It's predictable. You've seen it all before. Example, Red. Red's the main character. He's sarcastic. He's emotionally distant. He kind of doesn't have much humanity to him. You've seen that thousands of times in a main character. You've seen that thousands of times in an animated movie. So that in Nick Wilde earlier this year in Zootopia. This is nothing new that the movie's trying to accomplish. I wish it got a little bit more interesting because overall I wasn't that interested in how the plot was going. The story, like I said, story point, all fine. But the plot progression overall just felt so lazy, like there was nothing new being added to it. The directing, like I said, is completely summarized in the humor, felt very out of focus the whole time. The animation looked good, characters interacted fine with each other, but there was just so many minute, annoying pieces of the movie, and it just felt so out of focus the entire time that I get that this movie appeals to 7 and 8-year-olds that are watching Cartoon Network, but overall, I mean, so was Kung Fu Panda 3, and so was Zootopia. Those movies were aimed for kids, but I still love those movies. This movie, it didn't feel like it went that extra mile. I mean, I know it's not a Pixar movie, it's not a Disney movie. It's made by Sony, so it doesn't have that extra emotion that we've come to expect from, Disney and Pixar. But at the end of the day, you wish it had a little bit something more that brought you into these characters, made you care a little bit more. The movie was out of focus with its humor for sure, but if it gave you a little bit more to cling on to in these characters and who they were, what they were doing, and how they, finished up their overall stories, then maybe I would have liked this movie a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give the Angry Birds movie a C. It isn't something I recommend you guys run out and check out. I thought it was, okay at best. But like I said, the good parts were okay, but then the bad parts really just brought the movie down. But guys, those are just my thoughts on the Angry Birds movie. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. You guys can also go over to mymoviethoughts.com to see more posts from me. You guys can follow me on Twitter. I am at John M. Hayeck. Links to both of those in the description down below. Also, annotations on screen here. You can check me out on both those. If you like what you've seen here, you can subscribe to this channel. I've got at least 1 to 2 new videos coming out every single week. Like this video, share it with some friends, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching.